was. He was still him.
I feel like once he went down to bantamweight, he was not him. Going on, everybody? Road to Gold, episode 18. We're back in the building. Had a short little hiatus, but we're back in the building. I'm with my man Ron here. I'm Dylan. Ron, how you feeling today?
Feeling good, man. You know, I've had a good card, good pay-per-view. A few exciting fighters fighting some of my favorites tonight. Well, tomorrow. Sorry, I'm gonna say tonight, Saturday. So I'm definitely excited for this card. This is gonna be, I think it's gonna be special. I think this is gonna be. People are gonna be a little disappointed. Some fighters weren't able to make it for one reason or another, but I think this is gonna be pretty exciting in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not the Conor McGregor card that we were promised. Which, you know, anytime you get a Conor McGregor card, it's a different vibe. It's on a different level. Regardless if he's in his prime, if he's past it, we don't really know. We still don't know. But nonetheless, still exciting card. Yuri Prochazka taking on Alex Pereira. We got Diego Lopez taking on Brian Ortega. We got a few other fights really looking forward to. Before we get into that, we didn't get a chance to talk about last week. We had UFC Saudi Arabia. It was a pay-per-view level card with some of the fighters that were on there. Unfortunately, Hamzat didn't make it. He got hurt, so they late notice replaced him with Aliskerov. Was there anything from that card that kind of stood out to you? I mean, shoot, Kevin Gastelum got a dub. Alexander Volkov took out Sergey. Shara, he looked incredible. Johnny Walker got slumped. I mean, what kind of stood out to you from this card?
Huge Shara fan. I love Shara. I love watching him fight.
He's a beast.
I still don't know if he can see or not out that one eye, or what is it like? He's like blind, or does he like see anything?
He's completely blind in his left eye, and that's part of the reason why he doesn't fight in the United States, is because they won't let him.
That's crazy. I mean, I get it, but like,
he's a savage.
The fact that he can be this good with one eye. I mean, look, it only takes about 4 or 5 good jabs to the healthy eye, then what can you do? Like, that's crazy to me. But he looked amazing. I really hope we can see more of him, even if it's not United States. I would see more of him. Kevin Gastelum, I mean, it's a win, but I think we all should feel the same disappointment in him as we should. You mentioned Johnny. Yeah, you know how I feel about him. Unserious, as soon as you give him an opportunity that means something, he seems to squander it. This was a loss that I'm not gonna say you should have saw coming, but he was getting up there. You win this one, you may be in talks of fighting some contenders for the belt at that point. So it was about due for him to take this loss. That was about due.
Yeah.
And Volkov, shout out to Volkov.
My boy.
He took that's a good win against a good opponent, dangerous opponent. We all knew, I think technically he had what it took, but it was gonna be trying to not get hit with the most devastating right or left hook of all time. And he did that. He looked good while doing it. He won the fight. He outstruck him. It looked good. Volkov did a good job. What do you think about it?
No, I mean, pretty much what you said. Kelvin Gastelum, you don't get no props from me, brother. Miss weight. And I know he probably had some other health concerns, because you don't just miss weight by 15 pounds and that's just it. So I'm sure, I hope he's healthy. I hope all, but you put Daniel Rodriguez in a tough predicament. The other guy who, if he doesn't accept the fight, he's ruining the card, because that fight's going to get scrapped and now it's less. So UFC probably put the pressure on him. We might see that in a documentary in a few months, a few years, kind of like how they did Aljo. Like, that's
right.
Might be what we're seeing, but nonetheless, they took care of him, so he'll be all right. Alexander Volkov, he definitely was the better fighter, and I'm very glad he won because he's very technical. He's been in the UFC heavyweight. He's a mainstay up there. I just don't know. He'll never be that championship material.
That's surprising coming from you. I thought you were high on Volkov.
Trust me, I am, and I think he is. He's always a top 5, top 6 heavyweight. But when you
Okay.
look at the guys that Tom Aspinall submitted him. I imagine John Jones do the same. Can he beat a Cyril Gane? Like I just don't know if he has that in him.
I think he does. I think he has what it takes to beat a Surreal Gone.
Maybe Cyril,
That
but
means less today. I understand, but
there's
I do get that. But I think Gone pre John Jones, even after Francis, I think he could have beat a Surreal Gone.
it's just Alexander Volkov just wanted. He's like a slightly less Robert Whitaker. Like he's always at the top of the division. Different from Robert Whitaker in that he hasn't crossed that bridge to the other side and been a champ, but he's always at the top, and I just don't know if he'll break through. I hope he does though, because that's my guy. So we'll
I
see
think he
about
will.
that. And then
I
let's talk
think he
about the
will.
main event. Robert Whitaker knocked out Ikram, who's my boy Ikram. I was rooting for him. I thought he could maybe pull a Cinderella story and get it done. It was easy to see as soon as the fight started that he's just on a different level, and he proved it. Got him out of there round 1. He feinted the uppercut, threw a jab
Mm.
out there, hit him with the real uppercut, put him out. I mean, it's about as picture perfect performance as you could get.
Robert Whitaker is such an interesting fighter when you look at his history
Mhm.
because he's done it all. Literally, he's done it all. Been a champion. His champion status felt very short lived for how good he is. But what can you do? Like what can he do? Like what is it that I think he should be higher on people's probably all time list. I would even say than he probably is. But he hasn't had the belt long enough to kind of, reinforce it for people. Like he would be amongst a group of people that was champion, maybe had one defense, two defense type guys. Like off of skill alone, he's that good. But without the necessary accolades to kind of back it up too, it's like Robert Whitaker really should be, I believe, 100% higher. If there wasn't an Israel Adesanya, we'd be talking about Robert Whitaker the way we talk about Israel Adesanya. But we don't because there's Israel Adesanya. I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast.
Is Robert a Hall of Famer?
As I was talking, I actually had that thought literally while I was talking about him. I want to say that's a yes, especially the way UFC be throwing some names in there. I want to say he's definitely a Hall of Famer, but at the same time, I want the bar of Hall of Fame status to be kind of high for the UFC. I get we did just kind of get out of an era of a lot of old heads that kind of paved the way for the sport, and those guys are kind of all been or have been inducted to the Hall of Fame at this point. So now I think the bar should be raised to what it takes to be a Hall of Famer. I would like to look back and be like, Robert Whitaker is a Hall of Famer, but he's just in there. I would like him to be a just in there type guy. I want the bar to be that high. But ultimately, I think yeah. Either way, he's a Hall of Famer no matter how you look at it.
And we're gonna get to some Hall of Fame talk a little later because they had their induction ceremony last night. Is Robert Whitaker a Hall of Famer? I mean, I if you're gonna put Dustin Poirier in the Hall of Fame, I think you have to put Robert in
See, but that's what I'm talking about. Let's raise this bar. Is Dustin
there.
Poirier a Hall of Famer?
Oh, bro, come on, come on, come
See,
on.
come on,
The,
bro,
the
come
streets
on,
are gonna
dog. What are you
riot. The
talking
streets are
about?
gonna riot. I'm just telling you what the streets are gonna do. The streets are gonna riot if you're trying to keep Dustin Poirier out the
The
Hall of
streets
Fame.
need to keep it a buck. They need to keep it real. He's exciting. We love him. He's a favorite. That does not make him a Hall of Famer. If you're letting Dustin be a Hall of Famer, you're letting a lot of other guys also be Hall of Famers. Off the top of my head, I can't necessarily think of enough names to kind of back up this, but I mean, he's a great fighter, has good wins. He's up there in I think fight time.
He has a
Quite a
record.
few knockouts. He's done what you've wanted to see a fighter of his caliber do. Don't get me wrong, but Hall of Fame. I don't know. I want the bar to be high. I want that to be like a if there is like how the NFL is first ballot, I'd want him to be like a third, fourth try
Yeah,
guy. If,
I
if
know
he was
what
a
you
Hall of
mean.
Famer, if he's a Hall of Famer. He's like a third, fourth try guy.
I know what you mean. I mean, I do think, but it's also hard because the NFL's Hall of Fame has been around for so much longer. I feel like the UFC is trying to like build their base. So you think about the NFL Hall of Fame. Obviously, it's really tough to get in now, but I mean, if you look at guys like Otto Graham and kind of the people that
That's a
laid the
guy.
foundation, who obviously, if they played today, might not be the same, but back then they were that guy. You know, maybe you need to put the Cowboy Cerrones in the Hall of Fame because they were the guys that kind of
No,
built up the sport. They kind of built up the sport. They didn't build up the sport.
I'll play in the Hall of Fame.
They didn't build up the sport, bro. A
Uh,
Jim Miller, a guy who, no, he didn't get gold, but he's a guy who fought a trillion times in this sport, in this organization, and helped build it up. And I don't know.
the equivalent is like taking maybe a sixth, seventh, eighth year running back who was maybe the rushing champion for maybe 5 or 6 years, fell off towards his last few years, and then being like, he didn't win a Super Bowl. Maybe he was all pro, maybe once or twice, but you know what? He's a Hall of Famer.
So like Chris Johnson, CJ2K.
I mean, come on. He's CJ2K now. Come
He
on
ain't
now.
Super Bowl, but he didn't get a Super Bowl.
You're right, but I mean, 2K is a hell of an accomplishment now. That's a hell of an
I mean,
accomplishment.
Cowboy and Jim Miller have. I mean, Jim Miller might have. He was
You're
at
right.
one point tied with Charles Oliveira for the most submissions in UFC history. Like, it's not like he's just coasting along and just kind of
You're
bumbling
right.
along. Like,
You're
he
right.
has, tons of fight bonuses and things like that. So let's.
Maybe I haven't thought deeply enough about this because you're right. Because Jim Miller does have those kind of accolades to his name, which kind of does kind of boost him more to Hall of Fame. I mean, to be rightfully Hall of Fame status. But it feels like a slippery slope because if you allow Jim Miller to be like a Hall of Famer, then it's like there's a lot of fighters we can name better than Jim Miller. A lot of fighters. So it's like,
But
what do we do about that then? Well, how do we establish that?
there's a lot of quarterbacks better than like Terry Bradshaw. You know,
Dog, stop it.
you
'Cause
know what I'm saying.
Terry Bradshaw,
Again,
how many has he won? He's won
I
both.
I know, but I'm saying like talent wise. My
Okay,
point, I'm not trying to comment and say like, they're equivalent. I was just saying a guy like, a quarterback, Norm Van Brocklin, people like that from back in the day. Like, yeah, we know, the run of the mill player today is probably better than them, but in their time, they might have been the top of the top. In Cowboys' peak, I'm not saying he was the best because he didn't get a belt, but he was at the top of lightweight.
you're talking
Same
like
with Jim
a
Miller.
Tony Romo type guy.
I guess. I'm not letting
Okay.
Tony Romo in the Hall. So
Maybe our
that's
question's answered then. I don't know.
so yeah. So I mean, if we're gonna go that route, then I guess I'll just leave it at that. That's interesting though. Like I said, I'll be curious to see the trajectory for Robert Whitaker after this. Does he fight Sean Strickland? Does he wait for the loser of this belt? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But like I said, good card. UFC 303, man. We got some great fights. This main card is it was different. It was different. We had Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. We had Jamal Hill versus Carlos, well, really against Khalil Roundtree and then Carlos Olberg. The card looks a little different now. Got some new fights. Why don't we just take a look at it real quick just to kind of just see what we're working with now. I mean, Machado Gary, Michael Venom Page, Anthony Smith. We got some well-known names here. These are a lot of well-known names, well-known fights. What are we're just looking at this card now versus how it looked before? What are your kind of thoughts on this card as it is today?
Okay, I think people who look at the main card, if you're a person who looks strictly at the main card, of course, Alex Yuri captures your eye. Ian Michael should capture your eye. If you know your stuff, Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez should capture your eye. But you may not be as hype about seeing an Anthony or Mariah Bueno Silva. But I think the entire card within itself is a good card. Even the some of the prelim fights,
Got some good
that's some good
prelims.
chunk there.
Joe
There's some.
Pyfer,
You feel me?
Joe Pyfer on the prelims. Peyton
There's some.
Talbot.
Yeah, yeah. There's some good fights in there. If you're a UFC fan who's locked in, who's seen some of these prelim guys fight before, you should be excited about this entire card. If you, of course, you look at individual fights, you can probably get caught up into. I mean, it's alright. I'm paying for the main. I'm paying for the main cards. Then why am I? I get that. I really do. Like, if you, however you want to feel about that, feel about it, because I get it. But if you're a true fight fan, the whole card should honestly be very interesting to you. And off of the strength of that alone, I mean, this should be very interesting. The main card is very good, though. I'm a fan of it. Of course, shout out to my dog Geary. I have to definitely go Diego Lopez over Brian here. But outside of those two main event fights, like I said, Anthony Roman's going to be very interesting stylistically as a matchup, and plus Anthony Smith can go kick rocks. Silva and Chasian, is it Chasian?
Chiasion.
Chasian. I'm not.
Chasson.
You claim to be bilingual out here, so I figure you maybe know how to pronounce it better than I did. But I think that's gonna be actually very exciting of a fight. That's gonna be exciting. I think that's gonna be actually very interesting. Ian Michael, I think a lot of people are split. That's a very 50-50 type fight for a lot of people. We're gonna get more into it though, because this is an interesting card. It's exciting. If you're a fan, the whole card is really exciting. I think there's a lot to talk about here.
For sure. We might as well just get right into it. I mean, start with your boy, Ian Machado Gary, coming in there to face MVP Michael Venom Page, formerly the Bellator, the bare knuckle boxer. This is an interesting fight. I don't know how much you've been tuned in to just kind of the interviews and the press conference. Ian is almost taking this fight as if he is a champion who's fighting a contender who doesn't really deserve it. He's kind of walking around and saying, why am I fighting down? I should be fighting up. I'm not really, I wasn't motivated to take this at first, yada, yada, yada. And he's kind of talking that talk a little bit. And MVP's no slouch over there. I feel like I know how you feel about this fight, but give me your breakdown on what you think's about to happen.
Ian Gary is a fighter's fighter. Doesn't matter. Maybe he's not happy. Maybe he's not happy about it. He's gonna take the fight though, because he knows what the people want. He knows it's exciting. He knows it's gonna help him ultimately credibility wise, even though he feels it's beneath him. I said this multiple times before. He's mature. He's mature. He knows what he's doing in there in the octagon. He's methodical. He's so technical. I know people are the one criticism people have about him is he can be more aggressive. I do feel he needs to take a little more opportunities at time to kind of go in for some of those longer combinations, for some of those, higher damage, significant strikes. But I'm also not. I'm okay with how he goes about his fights though, because people say he's fighting very sweet. Maybe he's running. He's fighting smart. He has fought back to back two of the better strikers in the division, and he knows the kind of power they bring to the table. He knows the kind of fight they want to make it. Why play into their hands? Now you're fighting someone very opposite. You're fighting Michael Venom Page. In my opinion, Michael Venom Page is. I don't know if you had to put a bar between aggression and counter striking. He is completely counter striking. He can get aggressive with you. He can be first, but he wants to pick up his reads. He wants to set you up and trap you. He wants to make you feel comfortable. make you think you're doing something for yourself, and but you're really playing to his hands. He's very dangerous, but I think Ian's too smart. The IQ's too large. See, big brain plays, big brain plays. Ian's gonna be in there on the same wavelength as Michael. He's not gonna fall into those traps. And then not only that, the length he has. Excuse me. His reach between front kicks, side kicks, jabs, hooks. Michael Venom Page doesn't have that typical advantage that he has against a lot of other fighters. Fighting someone, they're both like 6'4", I believe, but Ian, I believe, has a similar, if not longer, even range than Michael may have. And with that being said, I don't see Ian walking into those traps. I don't see him like he's not Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's gonna go in there, walk forward, and do what he does. And against Michael Venom Page, it was able to work. Ian is not him. He's gonna be a lot smarter. He's gonna be quicker. He's gonna be faster. He's gonna know what to look out for. He's gonna watch his film, and I think he's gonna take this win.
I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, but I do think I understand they're both taller, rangier fighters. However, I do think that Michael Venom Page, his style is he's almost like a fencer. He's very karate dominant. He's in, he's out. That honestly creates a little more distance than he's given credit for, because he's lunging. He's overextending, which typically, again, you're not instructed to do. That's almost the exact opposite of what you want to do. But a lot of the stuff he does is opposite of what you want to do. He fights with his hands down, fights with his chin up. He does all of that. So I do think that while Gary may have him, because I looked at I was watching the press conference and they did a face down. Ian is taller than him, which is kind of wild to see. But he's so good at managing that distance that I think that could present problems for Ian. I guess it's going to come down to, can he solve that puzzle? We saw, as you said, Kevin struggle with solving it. It's not that easy to solve. It's easy to see and be like, oh, I'm not going to fall for this, and I'm not going to lunge this, and I'm going to counter this. I mean, are we in for a snooze fest, do you think? Like,
I think it's very possible. I think it's going to be a snooze fest it's going to be two high-level smart fighters going at it, and both of them know that they can't fall into the trap the other one lays. So it's going to be a lot of looking at each other, a lot of feinting. You're going to see strikes, but I don't think we're going to see the long combinations. I don't think we're going to see long combinations by either fighter, really. It's going to be jabs, front kicks, side kicks. Maybe you see a 1-2, maybe a one body kick, something like that. But we're not gonna see the crazy combinations. This isn't gonna be two guys in the pocket, getting it in. It won't be that, I don't believe. It's gonna be two guys sizing each other up, trying to figure things out. Almost a point fight, just getting in. A little lunge, maybe from Michael Venom Page, maybe a little step jab, little combo, body kick, get back out of there for Ian. But it's gonna be that for like 5 rounds. It's gonna be who can outpoint each other by the end of this fight.
So you're choosing your boy.
I'm choosing Ian for sure.
Man, I don't know if you heard MVP's walkout song. You heard it?
Oh my god, I did. It's nasty.
BBL Gary, I got to rock with MVP, bro. I heard that. I thought it was like an AI, like a bot thing, and then he's gonna come out to that. I don't know. I think Ian's gonna. I don't think he's seen anything like this. I will say, if Ian can utilize his kicks, which is a dangerous game because Michael Venom Page is a very good counter striker, he'll probably be able to time him. If he can get his kick game going, then I would pick Ian. I don't think he will. I think MVP is going to frustrate him and give him kind of the Kevin Holland treatment. I think he might humble the young pup.
Come on, man.
I think he might humble.
He didn't get Kevin Holland treatment.
Not to that.
That's a low IQ fighter comparing him to, man.
Not to that extent, because Ian is above Kevin in that realm, but similar sentiments. I don't know. I think he's gonna give him fits.
I think they're both each other fits. Round by round, I think the first, second round are going to be very interesting. This is going to come down to the last round, the third round most likely, and I don't. I think Michael will have an issue trying to figure out what Ian's trying to do, the same way as Ian's trying to have trouble trying to figure out what Michael's going to do. It's going to go back and forth. I think ultimately Ian's going to come out the victor because you're playing at his pace where I think Michael strives when fighters are trying to be the aggressor and are trying to push the pace on him. Which I mean, I'm sure he can do well, not at that pace as well, but he flourishes there. Ian, that's not Ian's style. Ian wants the pace of this fight to be right where it will be. I think he will flourish. He'll be in this natural habitat. You're coming to the jungle with Ian. Ian is not going there with Michael.
I mean, hey, I respect it. We'll see. It's a close fight on paper. I mean, Ian's minus 155, Michael's plus 130. So the odds maker see it close. I don't think it'll be a snooze fest. I don't think it's going to be obviously stand and bang and just in the pocket. But I think we'll get some good entertainment. I'll just leave it at that. Next one, Myra versus Macy. Myra Brena Silva versus Macy Chiasson in the women's bantamweight division, which could use some life. It could use some life. And these are two ladies who have, they've faced the best in there. I mean, Silva took out Holly, submitted her, got her out of there.
True.
But Macy's no slouch. I mean, at 5'11", she has good frame, good size, and she has that dog in her. Like she is aggressive. It's almost like she doesn't even want to get the win. She wants to do damage the way she fights. Like that's obviously not literally, but that's how when I watch her fight, that's kind of how I see her. Rangy, a lot of good kicks. But Silva is very diverse. I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth on this one.
The diversity of Silva, I think, being high level on the ground and in the clinch. I think her weakest spot is her striking, and even that is pretty good. But uh, the striking ability that she possesses isn't wowing, but it's like the cusp of like good enough, like for the degree of especially Macy, I think it's definitely good enough. I once you're getting into the most elite of the elite of just women's fighting in general, honestly, I think it's not enough. She'd have to definitely go to the ground, but Silva's good in the clinch. If you try to pressure her, she'll be happy to close that distance. Maybe try to land a hook or a straight clinch up with you, elbows, knees, maybe a takedown. If you go to the ground with her, she's nasty. She has submissions everywhere you can think of. I, and she's okay with being the aggressor. She'll walk you down, and I think this could be a very interesting matchup because Macy, like you said, has that dog in her, so she's going to be nothing but forward on Silva. But I think also at the same time, she is almost too wild. I think she's gonna get caught up in the clinch. She's gonna get caught up with some good knees landed, good elbows landed on her. If it goes to the ground. If it goes to the ground, that's a wrap. No, no, I don't see anything. I don't know. I don't.
She has some of the best ground and pound that I've seen from a woman. Like,
But can she protect herself when a triangle, a guillotine, an
can.
armbar is being thrown up at you?
Hey, when you're getting punched in the face, you can't throw any of that up. So I mean, I'm not saying that she just goes down there and mauls her, but I don't think it's that. Silva is definitely, I don't want to say elite on the ground. She's not elite on the ground, but she is formidable. She has those submissions, but Macy has those submissions too. And she, like I said, that ground and pound on top, she's looking to do damage. So while she's trying to throw up a triangle, if you get it, you get it. But if you don't, you're really opening yourself up to someone who wants to damage you. Doesn't just want to, stall and pepper ground and pound. Like, she's trying to damage.
I feel you. I feel you. I don't. She's like you said. You're right. She's good ground and pound, but it's too. I think she needs to be more controlled. She's too wild. If she can get off a few good, damaging, significant strikes before Silva can throw up a submission or even just control her, get back into full guard, maybe even reverse it, something like that, maybe to stand back up possibly. I think it can turn bad very quickly, but she's too much energy. She's too crazy for how she goes about a lot of her encounters. Too much, almost too much heart. She thinks that she's just like this indestructible. Nothing you can land on her is gonna actually do the damage. It's gonna put her out, and I respect it. But when you're facing someone who's this solid in the clinch, this solid with their takedowns, and can get a good submission off on you from like any position, whether it's a ninja choke. We saw a ninja choke. That was the
Yeah,
fight I believe against Holly. We've seen her throw up different arm bars and triangles in different fights. Like, doesn't matter where you are, don't let your rear naked chokes. She has it for you. So you can't be too crazy. I'm definitely going with Silver here. I think Macy is gonna. I think it's gonna be an exciting fight. It's gonna be back and forth a little bit. I think the difference is gonna be one significant strike in the clinch and probably a ground encounter that's gonna end up in a submission.
yeah. I mean, I'm picking Silva too. I don't think Macy utilizes her kicks how she should. Her being that tall, I mean, 5 inches taller with
True.
6 inches more of reach. She needs to utilize that more, but I think she just wants to fight so bad that sometimes she just gets caught up in the moment. She does have good defensive striking when people blitz in, so Silva can't just blitz in and try and do that the Holly approach, because we
Yeah.
saw how the Holly approach worked against Silva, and it didn't. So I do think Silva goes out there, gets the win. And that's pretty much it there. I think it'll be a good fight though. I don't think it's going to be one-sided, just because these are two people. Like I said, they both really got that dog in them. So I don't think it's just going to be a one-sided affair.
I mean, you're right. You're right. It can go either way. It's not one sided. It can definitely go. There's different paths. I'll even give her that. There's different paths Macy can take for a win. I just don't believe that's the way it will go for her. I don't think it's going to be good for her to be on the ground or the clinch. I think her best path will be to land a strike, not at necessarily a range in the pocket, probably somewhere in the pocket, but then she has to worry about the clinch. It's gonna be too much for her. I think heart isn't gonna get you past every fight. Some technical skill is gonna be have to be there at some point.
They do, and I think she'll surprise a lot of people. But yeah, I don't think she'll get that. I don't think she'll get that win. But you know who will get that win? Your favorite fighter on the roster, Anthony Lionheart. He's going out there. Short notice,
and I hate
short
it.
notice. Roman Dolidze, both of them on short notice.
Yeah, facts.
They're replacing. I mean, there's a few fights that are being replaced, but they're replacing that light heavyweight bout that was supposed to happen. And this is an interesting fight. There's different storylines here. For one, Roman Dolidze is a middleweight, so the fact that he's coming up to fight light heavyweight, interesting. Anthony Smith, a win here? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, a win here. Let's look at his last. I mean, he beat Vitor Petrino last, who had a rocket ship taped to his back.
That's facts.
He goes out here and gets an impressive win. I'm not gonna say, immediate title picture, but let's just see where he's ranked right now. I mean, he's at 10. Might put him up to 7, 6. At that point, when you're ranked 7, 6, you can fight top 3.
It's possible. Top 3 shouldn't do it, but it's possible.
There's a path to Anthony Smith fighting for the belt by next year. It's
We don't
bad.
want that. I don't think any of us want that. I don't think any of it. This doesn't help the light heavyweight division for him to get this win. Okay, here's my problem. Because I am not a fan of the way Roman fights. I am stylistically he fights. I do not like it at all.
He fights like a brute,
He fights like he's just stronger and will punch harder than
which he
you.
is. Most
Most
at
people
middleweight, at middleweight,
and
most of the
middleweight.
times he is.
At light heavyweight, that narrative could be a little different. One,
Will be.
yeah, for sure. And two, Anthony Smith has so much experience. It's just that shouldn't work against him. But again, Anthony Smith getting a win here does not do anything for the division. I think even if he gets this win, he loses within the next two fights, 100%. Whether it's this one or the next one, he loses. He's not going to be a championship guy. He's not going to
You
be
don't know that.
fighting for the belt. No, I cannot have that. I cannot have that. That's something I cannot have.
You
He's
don't know that.
already full of himself half the time.
Oh,
He already like he has the accolades. He has enough. He has the fights. He's had a good path while fighting. Bro, just please, just get out. Just please leave. Please leave. I don't. This doesn't help having him around still in the division. It's we're just setting time back and further for the young guys who we would like to see kind of get mixed in more at light heavyweight, as the light heavyweight division is kind of now one of those divisions that hasn't had a lot of movement in the past couple years. But I mean, Anthony Smith lost. Maybe you get Vitor a little another shot. Maybe have him fight maybe someone at 10, 11, 12. Next time around, see what that
Vitor.
happens. Yeah,
Vitor is not even ranked. He has no ranking.
I know because he lost to Anthony, but he debatably was in good standing in that fight before
Oh,
going for a takedown
oh.
and getting guillotine.
No, you all right. Now you're saying some hater. You're sounding like a hater.
I just wanna I
He
wanna
was
I
not
wanna
in good
pump
standing in that
I
fight.
wanna pump new life into the division.
Which
I need new life in the division.
I
Anthony Smith
understand.
does not help that. Roman, if he wants to move light heavyweight, he at least would do that for us, though I hate the way he fights, but at least it's something new. This is the kind of fight where you coin flip it. I think it can go either or really. But Anthony should be the winner. That's who I believe is gonna win the fight. I'm gonna go with
There you
Anthony
go.
Smith, though I don't want to see him win.
Well, I'm also picking Anthony to get the dub, but I understand the sentiment. It's the shiny new coin. Everybody wants the new toy. I understand, and you're not alone thinking that way. That's how a lot of fans think in really any sport. It's the same thing in football. People are always looking for the newest draft pick to be the new guy. And no, I want Anthony Smith to, I was a classic Anthony hater, by the way. Classic
Should
Anthony
be.
hater.
Hmm.
Similar to Bilal Muhammad. I used to hate Bilal Muhammad. He recruited me over to his team. I feel the same way about Anthony Smith now. I'm not going to say I want him to hold the belt, but I do want him to be successful. And look at, if you're losing to an older veteran fighter as a young up and comer, you don't deserve to get pumped up. A Vitor Petrino, he doesn't deserve to get another shot for a minute. Like, you
A
need him.
minute?
Yeah, he got his chance and he got absolutely obliterated. Like, I know you say he's in good standing. You're trying to be nice. I understand, trying to keep your connections and all that. It was a quick fight. He made a rookie mistake. He got caught by a guillotine that I could have seen coming if I was in the fight.
That's facts. I'll give you
And
that.
it's like, he doesn't, you don't just get a pass because you're a young up and comer. If Sean O'Malley, lost to one of those cans that he fought early on, I'm not just going to give him another pass. I'm
He
sorry.
like Anthony Smith though. I mean, I may not like Anthony Smith, but Anthony Smith is very reputable and was debatably losing the fight up until that moment. So like,
See,
Sean
you keep
O'Malley
saying that. You keep saying
fought
that.
fought someone that was of that kind of caliber of fighter and he lost. Dana knows what to do. Dana knows, okay, you lost this one. We're gonna run it back in 8 months, and you're gonna get someone of the same caliber at the least, but maybe 15, 14 or something, they would have done it again for Sean O'Malley. Why
I'll
not do it
say
again?
this.
Sure.
I'll say this. With Sean O'Malley, it's actually low key a perfect comparison. Sean O'Malley fought Cheeto Vera, and a little different circumstances. He got hurt, peroneal nerve in his leg went out. He couldn't walk. He got finished. That's at the end of the day, he got finished. He didn't get a ranked fight after that for at least, 3, because he fought the Chris Moutinho. He fought, I think his name's like Ti. He fought someone else, Paiva. He fought Paiva. He didn't fight ranked guys right after that, and that's Sean O'Malley. Like that's the prince that was promised type thing. That's how people viewed him. So I can't just give these young up and comers just grace. I'm not gonna say throw you to the wolves. We're not just gonna cast you out like a leper, but pump the brakes. If you beat a vet, you get that treatment. Ian Gary, every time he was faced one of those challenges, he passed. Flying colors. Well, most of the time, flying colors. And he passed. He looked great, and he got treated as such. Now he's in the top 7, 6, whatever. That's how it should go. You face the vets, you move up. If you don't, wait your turn.
I'll agree, but let's not forget that O'Malley was someone who did go from like 10 to fighting 2,
He did.
like that. So Dana knew what he was doing either way. No matter how you want to frame it, how it went in the beginning, Dana wasn't going to fumble that bag. And Vitor's one of those guys with the power. He has good ground and pound, wrestling ability. Don't fumble that. That's new life being brought into the division, and people want to see fight.
Well, Anthony Smith had something to say about that.
Sure,
but nonetheless, it's one of those fights that's like between Anthony and Roman. It should have no stakes because it's a short notice 2-week light heavyweight Anthony Smith, who's kind of in no man's land. He's ranked 10, facing a middleweight who's never fought at this weight. But if he goes out there, gets a knockout, submission, they might give him some grace. I don't really know. Looking forward to seeing it. Looking forward to seeing the evolution of Roman Dolidze, possibly. Maybe he learns some more nuance to his game. I don't know. We'll see. What I am excited for, though.
Real quick, before you move on to that next fight, so I don't want to get off track here. I can see how this conference is going to go.
You're about to get off track.
Don't let it. This is a quick little 2-piece. Someone asked who's the best boxer in the UFC.
The best boxer in the UFC?
The best boxer in the UFC. Personally, my answer is Ilya Topuria. I don't want to derail here by saying that, but he's the best boxer in the UFC. Is what I'm trying to say.
The best boxer, man. Like, instantly, I want to say Max.
Look, I'm a guy who's never thrown a high kick in not one fight in his UFC career. No matter if he's fought, whether it was featherweight, what was the other division he fought? Was it lightweight? Was lightweight?
When he got dropped.
He brings the power. He's taken out Volk, one of the other better strikers. Look, all I'm saying is, hey, look, this is a guy who has them. Never thrown a kick. He nothing but boxes. That's my guy. That's all I'm saying.
He does. Is he? He is a top boxer in the UFC. I'm definitely not trying to discredit that. I don't know. I think him versus Dustin Poirier to see who's a better boxer. Like,
that'd be interesting.
That'd be a very interesting thing. I'm not gonna go one way or the other because to me it's like razor thin. Between those three, I'm picking Max, I'm picking Ilya, I'm picking Dustin. I do think Max is more diverse. I don't think he's a pure boxer though. So I'll probably give Ilya the edge there. But Dustin, man, I don't know. Dustin is so slick. I feel like when it comes to like the pure art form of boxing, Ilya looks more clean, but I think Dustin might be the best.
Dustin has more
Like
swag.
boxer,
He has a swag when he
he
boxes. I don't know
does.
how to put it. Like Dustin just
Yeah,
he
you
look
know.
cool in there. He grabbing the shorts up. It's a little. You feel me? Like he has a little swag in there when he's boxing. So I think it just looks better. But Ilya, he got them though. He got them.
I
Let him
think when
see.
Ilya, we'll see in the upcoming fights. We haven't seen him face another boxer. Like we've seen him face Josh Emmett, who's a pure power puncher.
That's a boxer.
Yeah, but he's not Josh Emmett. We're not gonna sit here and say Josh Emmett is a pure boxer. Like we're not gonna do that.
What would we call him actually then?
He's a power guy. Josh Emmett is a power guy.
In the sport of boxing, there's power strike. Deontay Wilder is not the most technically sound boxer, but he's a power guy and he's a boxer. You just because you're a power guy, you're still a boxer. Josh Emmett he boxes.
No. I'm not saying he's not a boxer, but I'm saying he's not the top. He's not a top boxer. Like pure when you look at skill, power, technique, when you look at all three of those, Josh Emmett doesn't have great technique. I'm not saying it's bad. It might even be good, but it's not like, he's not a top 5 boxer in the UFC. Like, come on.
When my dog faces Max, the question will be answered.
Well, that's not going to be a pure boxing match. That's the thing.
You're right, because
it'll be
Max is probably gonna go for leg kicks. He may get scared, go for a takedown at some point. So you're right, it won't be a pure boxing match.
I mean, it's MMA. It's not boxing, as the great Islam Makhachev once said. So
it's not boxing.
Yeah, it's if this was a boxing match, then hey, I might, but it's MMA. So I will be interested to see though how Ilya does fare going forward. But nonetheless, let's talk about this co-main. We got B. Ryan, T. City Ortega versus Diego Lopez, which some might say, which is crazy because they got Diego as the favorite right now. Minus 135, which is very interesting. Brian Ortega has seen the best of the best. Like he's seen the top of the top. He's went rounds with Max. He's went with Volk, Yair. The top of the division, Korean Zombie. He's seen it all. And they got him as the underdog right now. I don't know. But Diego is also, he's that guy, fresher on the scene. Both of them are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners. I don't think this fight's going to the ground. I think this is going to be a stand and bang type of fight.
Really?
For sure. They're both elite. They're both elite.
Let's remember Brian Ortega real quick.
Let's do it.
He is a striking punching bag. He does not have great head movement. He gets hit with every significant strike known to man. He throws his own now. He throws his own for sure. He got him too now. But he's going to absorb a lot of them. His best work is forever and always grappling on the ground. Diego is a striker, but I can see him being okay, being comfortable. His BJJ is so good. Well, I think he'll be comfortable on the ground with Brian Ortega. I think he won't be afraid of it. He'll be hesitant. He won't be doing anything crazy. I think he'll be very cautious of his limbs while being down there. But I think he'll be comfortable enough to go to the ground with a Brian Ortega and be able to do that with him. With that being said, Ortega should actively, if you watch any film on Diego Lopez, be thinking, I need to clinch up and go for a takedown as soon as humanly possible. I need to trip him. I need to throw him. I need to drag him down. I need to pull guard. I need to do something other than get pieced up with hooks and uppercuts every other moment. Diego needs to be trying to give pressure, keep him on his heels, don't let him gain momentum. When he gains momentum, I feel like Brian has a tendency, it flips over itself. It just keeps on tumbling and tumbling. Gets bigger and bigger until that moment of a finish happens for him. Don't let Brian get that momentum going. Get on him, keep the pressure on him. Don't let him take you down. But if it goes to the ground, like I said, be cautious, know what you're doing, but still keep it on him. Keep hitting him. He's gonna be like a zombie for a while because you're gonna keep hitting him. He won't be going down, but I don't think he can take the shots Diego's gonna be dishing out. Diego's very strong, very powerful. Naturally, I mean, to be honest, Diego Lopez, I think, should be the winner of this fight. I'm going with Diego Lopez. But Brian Ortega, I think, definitely has a couple of avenues for a win here, but they're mostly on the ground.
I'm gonna have to stop you right there because first off, I'm not gonna deny that Brian Ortega has had some issues on the feet.
He's a punching bag.
But you got to look at who he was facing, man. You know, he it's not like he was facing some balance, he was facing Max Holloway. Even guys like Yair, who are elite on the feet. So it's not as if, Volk, like he's not just facing guys that are average striker. Like he's facing the top of the top. So let's just put that out there. Second, I don't think Diego is as, how do I say it? Because Diego has good striking, but he's not the most crisp striker that we've seen. He definitely is powerful. He will, if he touches your chin, he can put you down. I'm not denying anything like that. But is Diego Lopez going to sit there and pick apart a Brian Ortega? I just don't see that happening. I mean, we watched Brian Ortega fight Korean Zombie, and you can say what you want about Korean Zombie. You can say what you want. Korean Zombie, he has good striking, especially back then, borderline great. He was always in line for a title fight for a reason. And T-City went in there and, handled business on the feet. So Brian can definitely strike. He definitely has that in him. Do I think that's his path to victory? It could be. I don't think it's going to go to the ground. I don't know why you're so confident that it's going to go to the ground. I think it might cancel each other out. Both of their skill sets with jiu-jitsu, honestly.
I think Brian is so good on the ground. Lopez is confident enough in his ground game, and Brian is so good on the ground. The fight's going to go to the ground because I think it's going to definitely.
I'm sure it will at some point, yeah.
And then not only that, I think I've seen too many instances of Brian being a punching bag, where I have to keep saying punching bag because that's literally what he's been. His past like 3 or 4 fights, he's been a punching bag, and that's happened so often. I have to now assume that's how this is going to keep going. Diego, you're right, isn't the crispest striker, but he seems to have power. Because no matter who he fights, what strike he's throwing, it seems like when it connects, it's connecting. You're wobbling or going down. I didn't look. CD Yusuf, I thought was going to be fine. I thought he was going to win against Lopez. Uppercut in the clinch changed that entire dynamic of the fight instantly, and then landed the same uppercut in the clinch again, and that put him out. Like, the guy has power. He may not be crisp, but all it takes is one shot from him. And I don't think that's what Brian wants to have happen. That's not what he wants to be a part of. He needs to get to the ground, which I think is his best opportunity to win the fight. But Lopez is smart enough to not let that happen.
Does Lopez have enough to put him out with one shot? I mean, it's obviously MMA, so anything can happen. But we've seen T-City in there against, like I said, a Max, a Zombie, a Yair, a Volk. And though he may have lost a few of those, he went 2-2 in that. There was no point where he just laid down and kind of accepted that. Like he might have to take some. Maybe he might have been a punching bag at some point. I don't know if Diego has enough to get him out of there with one. If he gets him out of there with one, sure. If he doesn't, I think Ortega is going to be able to take that on the feet, that is. On the
This,
ground, it gets a little iffy.
this is a 5 round fight.
No.
It's 3 round. Even if it's a co-main, it's 3 rounds still.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, it's short notice, 2 weeks.
Well, if this
I
was a
wouldn't.
5 round fight, I'd feel you more. I definitely think Brian Ortega has the opportunity to get that dub. But now, especially knowing it's 3 rounds, yeah, it's Diego, man. It isn't. Yeah, it's just Diego.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a rock with Ortega here, man. I'm a rock with Ortega. I will say he had what seems to be a rough weight cut. Because so originally, before he got the call for this fight, he was bulking up to move to lightweight. He got the call. They said, "Hey, we need you at featherweight." Blah blah blah. He said, "That's fine." He tried to make weight. It didn't work out last night. They call up Diego's team. They say, "Hey, we need to move this to lightweight." So that's what they did. And I don't think anybody really was tripping. This wasn't a Kelvin Gastelum situation. It wasn't anything like that. Nobody really was tripping. It is what it is. Short notice, 2 weeks, not a lot of time to prepare. He still, I watched him on the scale this morning. He didn't look like he was all there, which none of the fighters are. Everyone's cutting weight. Everyone's dehydrated. It is what it is. He just didn't look that good. Ultimately, though, it being a 3-round fight, I see why in your case you might say a 3-round or a 5-round fight would benefit him, because normally it would. But I think in this case, less training, less time to prepare. I think it might. I think 3 rounds might benefit him, and I do think he's gonna get Diego out of there.
I get that. That makes sense, especially with the weight cut and everything. 3 rounds would probably be benefiting him a lot more than if this was a 5 round fight. But even still, I gotta Diego, man. He's gonna land quite a few strikes, and Brian, like I said, Brian's gonna land some back, but Brian's going to absorb more. If he can just dodge, put a block up, then we could talk about something. But he absorbs way too many strikes per fight. I think that's gonna be his downfall.
Well, we will see. Potentially has fight of the night written all over it. I don't know. The main event might have something to say about that, though. I mean, we got a rematch. We were able to run it back. We got Alex Pereira, Poatan versus Yuri Prohaska. This is you don't get much better of a replacement on the timing that we had than this fight right here. And they both accepted it with the quickness. There was no doubt. Doesn't matter how much time they had to prepare. They both were going to be there. They're both going to be there. They both made weight. Everything's all good. We saw how the first fight went. Alex Pereira ended up knocking Yuri, ended up TKOing him. It was a debatable stoppage, probably a little early. But nonetheless, he got the win. Yuri went out there, got a dub against Rakic. Now we're here. Does this fight go any different than the first one?
100%. First off, you have Herb Dean. Shout out to Dana. Shout out to my dog Herb. Herb's gonna let them die in there. So this is the time. It's the time to have Herb in there. Second, we saw after their first fight, Yuri said, I believe in an interview, that he probably should have went towards his wrestling a little sooner instead of waiting to get rocked, essentially, to go for a panic takedown, which started the chain of events that led to the loss. Outside of that panic takedown, Yuri was already starting to win the second round. That was a Yuri Prohaska round, second round. The first round, a lot of leg kicks landed. Alex probably took it. Alex did a good job with his movement, staying out of range, keeping Yuri away from him, not get comfortable being inside. For some reason, I don't know what happened in the second round, but Alex, for some reason, couldn't do the same with keeping Yuri away from him. I felt like he wanted to keep going to his leg kicks, but Yuri was applying, maybe it was more pressure, but he couldn't keep Yuri off of him, and it landed to a string of good strikes from Yuri that landed. With that being said, if Yuri can keep that same pressure up and instead of kind of getting into those lulls of standing directly in front of Alex, clinching up, going to a takedown. We've seen him against Glover. We know the type of ground game he has. Alex was struggling with Israel Adesanya on the ground. I'll
He
give
was.
granted, Alex does train with Glover Teixeira, who is overly stamped on the ground. He has his own gym. I believe he has his own jiu-jitsu style. He's great. I don't think Alex learned enough from Glover at this point to overcome an opponent as formidable as Yuri on the ground, though. So, with that being said, if Yuri does what he has to do, avoid the left hook, go for a takedown maybe a little earlier, don't just stand there in front of him, but keep that pressure on. It's 1-1. This series might be tied up 1-1. This is gonna be a Yuri Prochazka win. Shout out to Alex, great fighter, incredible run. I also think no matter what happens here, Alex leaves light heavyweight. I think Alex leaves light heavyweight, win or lose, no matter what happens. There's something else here for him. No one cares about Jamal Hill. He's already beaten Yuri once. I don't think there's no reason for a trilogy unless someone can convince him to do the trilogy. Which, like, if that was the case, that's cool. Like, I'd be excited for that. But outside of that, I think he's already on the back half of his career. He's already older. He wants to. I believe he wants to fight heavyweight. You might as well leave your last. Guess. Excuse me. Might as well let your last maybe 2 or 3 years in the UFC be fighting heavyweight and see what you can do there. I think win or lose, he goes up to the heavyweight and he does have a string of dominance there as well. But as for this fight particularly, Yuri Prochazka goes in there, gives Alex the business, takes a win, brings the belt back to the check.
Well, first, there's a lot to touch on there. First off, I found it interesting that you thought Alex won round one because I definitely thought Yuri won that first round.
You think so?
And I look at the scorecards, all the judges had Yuri winning that. I think it's because he did go to that wrestling in that first round. He got a big takedown, didn't let Alex get up, controlled him there. On the feet, Alex did land a lot of leg kicks, but nothing to the point where he could steal the round. I feel like that takedown kind of solidified it. Second round, I felt was kind of back and forth. I did think at the end, like right before the stoppage, Yuri did start to pick up. I'm not going to say that he was going to win that round. It's hard to say. We know Alex ended up actually winning the round, literally.
Okay.
So, so like it's hard to say there. But as far as this fight, I don't know, man. I think Yuri realized, like you said, he should have went to his wrestling. Because if you rewatch that first round, he got Alex down very easily. And I don't know why more people don't do that. I literally don't understand. And like I know people, commentators out there think the same thing. Because there has to be a fighter out there who's saying, man, if I just get him down, like there's no reason I'll lose. We saw, as you said, Israel Adesanya took him down and held him down. He was going to win the fight because he took him down. We saw Yuri take him down and control him. I don't know why some of these other fighters get so stubborn and get so locked in their views and say, hey, I'm going to beat him at his own game. That's what Yuri said last fight. He did say that, and I think it cost him. Do you think that he is going to get caught up in the moment and do the same thing? Or do you think that, let's say this fight does go 4 rounds, is he going to have a heavy wrestling presence?
So I think, see, in the first fight, the reason I feel Alex may have won the first round, I didn't see the scorecards after, but in my opinion, the reason I thought he may have won the first round was because I don't think Yuri did much to Alex with the takedown, but Yuri was visually limping and hurt going into the second round at like when that first round ended. it very obviously to me seemed as if Alex did more damage significantly to Yuri than Yuri was able to do to Alex. And I think that matters, I think, most to me. Off of just pure, I mean, takedown is great, but as we have seen, if you don't do anything with the takedown, it only means so much. I don't think Yuri was able to do too much to Alex while on the ground, while Alex was able to. If the first and second round had went with a lot of leg kicks for Alex, I think this fight would have been really bad for Yuri really fast. If he could continue what he was doing in the first round and the second round with the leg kicks, this fight would have been really bad really fast. But Yuri was able to somehow nullify that. I couldn't tell what the difference was. What was able to help him with that, but he was able to change it up a little bit, make sure Alex couldn't land as many leg kicks, and he was able to gain some ground. If the fight extends to the fourth or fifth round, I think that has to benefit Yuri, but I also think Yuri does have a tendency to get caught up in the moment. If Yuri lands something that is significant enough on Alex, I think he will throw his game plan out the window, and we're gonna go back to seeing Yuri with throwing
Mm.
3 or 4 flying knees, spinning elbows, uppercuts from hell. We're gonna see old Yuri all over again, which is the opportunity Alex needs to land that left hook. He wants Yuri to be in the pocket. He wants Yuri to be standing in front of him and to see Yuri's hands down, standing there again. And then all it takes is one shot from Alex, as he's done multiple times in the past. Yuri, the difference in this fight, you cannot stand in front of Alex. You can pressure him, you can throw something, you can go for a takedown. If you are not doing those things, you need to not be in the pocket with Alex. Do not give him an opportunity to land a straight, a hook, a kick, whatever it is. Do not give him an opportunity. I know Yuri loves to stand in front of his opponents because he feels he's just better than you there. And typically he is. I think he's better than Alex there still. Alex has the power to put anyone down though with a singular shot. Yuri does too, but Alex, we can all probably agree, is a lot stronger or more powerful, I should say, than Yuri is. Because of that, Yuri needs to stay composed and as the fight goes on, not get into a rhythm of I'm gonna stand in front of him because I'm doing well. I'm trying to put him away. Once he gets into that low, that's when Alex may overtake and seize his opportunity, and that's what we don't want as a Yuri Prochazka fan.
Does the short notice benefit or hurt either of them?
I want to say no, only because Yuri, all he does is trains. He all he does is sit in dark spaces with no food and water, and with his eyes closed for days on end. Alex, and we do see him in a lot of different little videos and him doing stuff, but at the same time, when we see him doing that stuff, it's usually him at a gym. It's usually him like you gotta think
Right.
he shot that video in 15 minutes. He probably spent the last 2 hours training. These are two guys that they take their training serious. They're very spiritual guys that really love what they do. I think if it was anyone else, that would definitely matter. But these are two guys that stay ready, and the fact they both took this fight on short notice, that tells me a lot about their character, about how prepared they are, and what they're going to bring to this fight tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it honestly might benefit Yuri a little more, just because I understand Alex. He's a savage. He's always training. He's always doing this. He's always doing that. But he's the champ. He has a lot more responsibilities. He's got a lot more of those speaking engagements. Showing up, meeting fans, things like that, and those things sometimes they eat at you because you got to think when you're on the come up, when you're not the champ, all that time that you're doing that stuff, you're in your own gym, you're grinding, you're getting to it. I don't think it's that big of a deal because I think they're both savages. I just know Yuri was probably a little more locked in at the time. Ultimately, Who you said you're picking? You're picking Yuri. I'm
You know who I'm
assuming.
picking. You know who I'm picking.
I do. I think I agree. I think Yuri's going to utilize his wrestling a little more this fight. If he utilizes his wrestling, he will win. If he doesn't, he will lose. Ultimately, I think he's going to. So I'm going to pick him to win. I hope he doesn't stray from the game plan because I know that has to be the game plan. I mean, just rewatch round one, guys. You have to rewatch round one. He just took him down so easy and controlled him. It just do that. If you're a UFC fighter, just do that.
Just do that.
If Pereira goes to heavyweight, it's a lot of more wrestlers at heavyweight. I don't know if he's going to
Yes,
be as
there
successful there.
are.
I mean, you get guys like Tom Aspinall, John Jones, guys like that
Just,
who can mix it up. I don't know. I don't know. I'm interested to see him at heavyweight though.
I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see the legacy move. I want to see the legacy progress. I want him to end his career, and he has everybody sitting back wondering where does he fit in all of this? Because this is the craziest run we've ever seen, like a 3 year span of time. This is ridiculous.
Predict the Hall of Fame.
I say so. It's ridiculous. It's a
If
ridiculous run. This is
if
Patrick
he,
Mahomes. This is
you're
Patrick
saying
Mahomes retired like in like one more year. This is Patrick Mahomes.
if he wins at heavyweight.
If he gets good wins, assuming John retires in 1 or 2 fights, he wouldn't be champion anymore. I think he has everything it would take to be a champion at heavyweight. If he could go up to heavyweight, win a belt, first ballot, sling him to the fame.
Yeah, if he wins a belt at heavyweight, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, I just wanted to get your quick opinion on this. They had their induction. Um, they let, I shouldn't say they let because these guys earned it. These girls earned it. I'm not trying to diminish that. This induction was Wanderlei Silva, Frankie Edgar, Joanna, Shogun, and Chael versus Anderson, their fight, number one. Anybody in there that you don't want in there?
I think they all
Where do
make
you think they
sense. I think it makes sense when you look at how the UFC acquired the Pride fighters and who and how they were as Pride fighters coming to the UFC and how they fought while being UFC fighters. When we include all of that into one, I think it all makes sense. Even Ioana and Vander and Frankie Edgar, those two especially, I think I mean Ioana was people were very focused on Ronda Rousey in that time period. Ioana was also crazy dominant, was also great. She was spectacular as well in that same time period. And then Frankie Edgar, he has had so many great fights. The I don't know if him and the Green Maynard fights are in the Hall of Fame. If they're not, they should be. But the Green Maynard trilogy is just as crazy as Frankie Edgar's career is, and I think everyone belongs. The Silva Chael fight is. I remember being in my dad's basement watching that fight live, thinking we did. I just lost it all. Anderson Silva, the unbeatable, just went 5 rounds and lost this fight to Chael Sonnen, who was talking crazy this
was?
entire time. So talking about his family, talking about what he thinks of Brazil, his people, talking crazy. And you're letting this guy beat you like that, like undeniably, just like wow, we went out sad today. And then him throwing up that triangle, switching the triangle to the armbar with like moments left, the tap coming through. It's it was magical. It's literally it was a Rocky moment almost. It was crazy. Like it's something that you don't see often in the UFC, a comeback like that, and to retain the belt and still be dominant after that too. It was ridiculous. I think everyone deserves it. It's a great showing. I think it's a good class.
Okay, okay. Just Just checking, testing the waters. A lot of Hall of Fame talk on this pod, so just wanted to see if we agreed. I do agree as well. Even guys like Wanderlei and Shogun, those guys laid the foundation for this. I mean, for what we know as the UFC today. So I think everyone also deserves it. Um, I'm a hater. I wish Chael would have got that dub, man. That would have just been, I don't know. And I didn't even watch MMA back then. I didn't watch UFC, but just knowing Chael, him with the belt would have been, we would have gotten the most
That would have been good.
crazy just talks on the mic that we've ever gotten,
That's
probably.
facts. Would have been crazy.
But nonetheless, you know, good class. Interested to see the next one. Plays of the week. You got any plays of the week?
What do I have here? Because I felt this card had a couple of decent plays. Most important one to me, I thought Yuri at plus 130 was good money. I think anytime Yuri is plus money to me, and no matter who he's facing in reality, is a good pickup. There's some prelim guys that
Yeah.
that also have some decent money in there. This would be a great card for a little parlay action, honestly. Just off of the strength of there's a lot of fights that I think you can almost book it, but there's also enough fights that you can go either way. Or if you put it on the plus money, it's not a bad bet at all. Where so ultimately, I'm not a betting man at all or anything like that, but it definitely, I think the best play for me would be Yuri, but a nice little parlay will get the job done on this card for sure.
For sure. I'll tell you who not to put on your parlay is Peyton Talbot. He's plus like 1,600 right
I
now,
saw that.
which it's honestly disrespectful. Like it's definitely disrespectful, especially because talented fighter. Peyton Talbot is talented. He's 25, making waves.
I
Who
like
has
him.
he beat to the point where, or what has he done to the point where he is that big of a favorite? Like
I
a
feel
Bo
you.
Nickel, I
He's
get.
good though. He's good though.
No,
Like
no, for sure.
he
But
stands.
bro, it's like 1,600, 1,500. Like I
Is
said,
this opponent like a call in later? Like was he a last minute guy?
I
I
mean, he
did see that,
might.
and I was confused by that. I was like, that is kind of crazy.
I mean, the guy he's fighting isn't a slouch either. That's the thing. Like he only has one fight in the UFC and he lost it, but Giannis isn't a slouch. I'll just say that. But Peyton should win this. But bro, come on. Let me see what the line is literally right now. The line right now minus 1,700. Like Bo Nickel, I hear you. He was he won the Heisman for wrestling. He's prized. I get it. Hamzat, when he was coming in, I get it. Guys like that, I get it. Peyton Talbot, man, minus 1,700. He better
Did
go
you
out there and
did you see his
embarrass him.
video? Did you see his video to his opponent?
Yeah, he made a video about how to beat him.
Yes.
Like, I mean, that's swag.
That's
I
tough. That's
mess with that. I
tough.
mess with that. I like
That's
that. I like the
oral.
guy. I like him. He's a good fighter. He's a great personality. I like him. I was just a little surprised by that when I was looking at the numbers. That's all. But as far as me personally, like I said, let's put together a little parlay here. Let's make some money. Let's make some money. We got Brian Ortega. He's plus 115. I think somebody who has seen the things that he has, the experience that he has in these short notice fights where things are muddy and unclear and you don't really know your opponent that well, I think could bode well for him here. Similarly, Anthony Smith, same thing. A guy who is also an underdog at plus 140, which is crazy to me that they got Lionheart as an underdog against a middleweight for good reason. Roman is stamped, he's powerful, all that. I think Anthony has great value here. Book that. The biggest risk I have, MVP. Put MVP on there. He's plus 130, so it's not a crazy ask, but it's great value because he is the underdog. But he has I mean, it could be a flip of a coin as to who wins that. I think MVP is going to give Ian Fitz. I think he'll get that one. And lastly, close it off with a solid one. We're gonna put Joe Pfeiffer. He's minus 300. That's just a prelim lock for you. I think he's going to be hungry after his last loss against Jacker Manson. He's going to come out guns a-blazing, and he's going to run through Mark. So that's it. If you just want some light advice, take that. We're going to revisit this parlay next week because I think it's going to cash.
We'll see. I'm curious on that one.
We'll see. Last thing, let's just end it off with this. Because this card, it was built around one man. It was built around Conor McGregor. That's who it was built around. Supposed to face Michael Chandler. If you are Michael Chandler, it's now been, a year, 2 years? It's been a while since you fought. You were teased to be fighting Conor McGregor at first. You didn't really know. Once you locked in and did the Ultimate Fighter and all that, you're in. You're going to get red panty night. You're going to get that paycheck from Conor McGregor. It's now been, like I said, a year and a half, 2 years. Are you waiting? Because now the fight got canceled. We don't really know when it's going to be. Dana White came out and said August, September, October, no chance. So you're at least looking at like Madison Square Garden in November, maybe, at best. If you're Michael Chandler, are you waiting this out, or are you going to go take another fight in the meantime?
I would need to know one. I would need to know how much do you plan on paying us.
You can't. You don't know. You don't know anything. You know you're going to get a bag. You know you're going to get a bag because nobody gets paid more than a Conor McGregor opponent. So you know you're going to get a bag when it happens. You just don't know when. You don't even know if the fight's going to happen because Conor, he could go in there and say, "Nah, I'm over it. Where's Diaz at?" He could do that.
Dead ass. If this fight didn't happen, we're going to fight. Like, whether it's in the octagon or not, if the fight just didn't happen, we're going to fight. Fighting is what's going to happen regardless. That's going to happen. We're going to scrap about that. Yeah, I think you wait. You already waited so long. This is a minor injury. To my understanding, I don't think it needs surgery. I don't remember them saying that, but maybe it does possibly. But it shouldn't need surgery. You already waited 2 years, year and a half, whatever. You might as well wait a couple more months. And then once that happens, hey, it's good, it's fine. Let's move on. Let's wait till November, December. Which, honestly, UFC has an opportunity then to make a card that's just as good. Because you can steal a headline with Conor and Chandler, but you also have the ability at that point to have Islam Arman. You put that in the same card. I know if anyone's been following, Arman is on suspension. He punched a fan on the walkout. I forgot the fan did. The fan did something. He didn't just punch somebody.
He probably deserved it.
Punched the fan. The UFC said you have to make an bullying or anti something video. It was shortened to 6 months. That would make him eligible to fight like in November, December. If you're just going out trying to end the year on a bang, if it's about ending the year in a bang, why not put those two fights in the same card? Everyone would tune in. I don't know where you'd have that. You have to put that fight. You have to put those put that entire card in a football field for how big that could be. You putting Conor McGregor and Islam, two of the biggest stars we have, both fighting at the end of the year on a card that would be probably pretty exciting. You could probably throw some other guys in there too. Maybe you want to put Ilya, maybe a triple championship fight, the Ilya Max in there too. I don't know. I think you could do some stuff. You really have a lot of range at the end of the year for things you can do. We've talked about many times a few different fights that can happen towards the end of the year. And those are just three we just named that are all championship fights that could actually happen if they wanted that to happen. Um, I think it can all work out at the end of the day still, if as long as they do this correctly. Um, if you're Chandler, might as well just wait for that big day because that's going to be a huge payout for you. And I don't know if the risk of losing to someone who's not worth it matters. If the belt is what you want, then I mean, sure, take someone else because you want the belt. But if you're about that cash, you got your dollars, bro, just wait a little bit. Just be patient.
Well, first off, Islam's a headliner, so can't happen.
I
He's a
mean,
headliner.
when Conor McGregor's in the card,
Well, see, that's the other thing, which is a potential issue, is that you can't have championship fights on a Conor McGregor card, and that's kind of the issue. I mean, technically, Dana White could do whatever he wants. He could put Islam Arman, Ilya Max. He could do whatever he wants and have Conor as the headliner. But I think that goes against some sort of moral code
it
that
does
the
for
UFC
sure.
has. They're not gonna put an unranked fight as the headliner and then have some championship fights before it. Although that's what the fans would want, probably.
That's the thing. The fans will be there for Connor though. When you sell the
Yeah.
gates the way Connor has, I think you're allowed to bend those rules a little bit. But I get what you're saying.
I don't even know if like some of these guys would take that. Like, is Ilya, who is now the champion, he thinks he's the
He
best
wouldn't.
thing since sliced
Yeah,
bread. Is he
he,
gonna be
he
the
wouldn't.
co-main or potentially the third fight on a Conor McGregor card? I can't see a lot of champions agreeing to that. So that's why it could get dicey. You're gonna have to really build up that card. I mean, man, if I'm Michael Chandler, the only problem with Michael Chandler is he doesn't have an opponent right now. If Connor retired tomorrow, Michael doesn't have anybody to fight. He already fought Gaethje. He already fought Poirier. Diaz is nowhere to be found. I'm not really sure who he fights. That makes sense at least. At welterweight, nobody really. He could fight like a Beneil, but do we really want to see that? Not particularly.
Welter?
I'm saying at welterweight or lightweight. I think he's still a lightweight at heart. I think just for the McGregor money, he went to welterweight. So I mean, he already fought Charles. He's not fighting Arman. Like, he has nobody to fight. So that's
If
the
Connor
issue with
if
him.
Connor retired right now and he's back to chasing a championship, you would probably have to put him against like Benil or Raphael. You'd have to have him fight down, most likely, at least first, for sure. Actually, to be honest, he had to for sure
Him
fight down,
versus Fazeev could be that. I like that. I like the idea of that. I like the sound of that.
and then he'd have to go from there, kind of let things kind of figure themselves out. Um, this is kind of nasty because Dustin and Justin have both already fought him. They're both ranked 3 and 4. Even if he fought Raphael, there'd still be a problem, and who do you have him fight after that? So there would actually still be issues. So that would be he is in a kind of a predicament, kind of honestly.
You feel what I'm saying? I don't know. I want to say, Chandler, go take a fight in the meantime, bro. I don't want to count your pockets, but there is money to be made. Connor is on games, kind of. It's hard to say. At this point, he might be in too deep to where now he literally can't take another fight because he would look crazy. But he in my opinion, he should have took a fight like earlier this year. But
That's facts. That's
that
facts.
is what it is. One thing that I actually just remembered, which no proof to support this, I did see a tweet that said Charles Oliveira versus Dan Hooker. And that's not happening. Charles actually came out and refuted it. But when I first saw it though, I was like, I mean,
Why? Why would that be the fight? Why would that be the fight?
I mean, I think that would be a fun fight.
Charles is
If
here for belts,
if
not
Charles
fun.
kept it on the feet,
Which you wouldn't.
he might get dropped.
This is Dan. Okay, and even if he gets dropped, Dan Hooker is going to go to the ground with him.
Nah, he's not gonna do that. Like I said, that fight's not happening. But I did want to ask you about that because I know it's Charles. You say he's, belt chasing. I don't really know
He's belt chasing.
who his next opponent is. He's another guy that's kind of in limbo because he lost his last fight, so he can't go fight for the belt next. So
he may be in a waiting mode, which is okay. He can
can't wait for the
sharpen his
belt.
toolbox a little bit.
He can't wait for the belt.
If Islam was to lose against Armin, we wouldn't have to wait too long.
If Islam
In the instance that Islam lost to Armin, I know let's just say if that was to happen, you could easily run Islam Charles.
Oh, you'd have to run that back.
Like you can easily run that for the belt for a belt fight again against Armin
for a title eliminator.
Yeah, you can easily run that, and that would slap. If I'm Charles, wait for that fight. Wait for that to happen.
He's gonna be waiting until 2099.
Bro, that fight's gonna happen at the end of the year, at the latest February, at the latest.
I'm saying at no point is Islam gonna lose to Armin and give him a chance at a title eliminator against Islam because Islam will be holding the belt. So that's where the issue comes from. Is that
your assumption that Armin doesn't take him to the ground and do to him what Islam does to everyone else?
Yeah, no chance.
Yeah, that's a cool assumption, though. Armin will.
Yes, very educated.
It's alright. He's educated if you were to look at what's happened 4 or 5 years ago. When they fought the first time. I guess we use that information, but I mean, I think we can all say Armin's not the same fighter he was then, and I think he would give Islam some problems first. I think he'd give him problems.
We will definitely be waiting on that. We'll see about that. But yeah, that's a wrap. That's a good show. Very excited for this pay-per-view. It's not what we were promised, but the UFC definitely put their hard hats on and got to work and gave us a card that I think will surprise a lot of people.
I think it will too.
So on that note, we will see y'all next week. Can't wait to recap with you guys how this went. We got some good things on the horizon. Got some good cards coming up. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Corey Sandhagen coming up in August. Very excited. Got Leon in July. We got some good things coming up. I'm very excited. Anything else for the people?
Like, subscribe, retweet, repost. I say subscribe. Quotes. Repost.
That's probably.
I don't know all the social media platforms are out there, but make sure you do all that though. All of that.
That's probably enough. Hopefully they do it. We'll catch y'all later, man. Until then, be easy.